Let me also welcome on board Arvind Mehdiratta, the MD and CEO at Metro Cash and Carry. He joins in the show right now. A lot to focus in on when it comes to the retail sector. How exactly is the second wave impacting the entire space? And what is the status really on inventory as well as stock? Arvind, great to have you on the show. Thank you so much for taking the time out. Help us understand what's really happening out there. Is it back to when we had the first lockdown last year? Are things status quo?
I will say that this time the retailers and the suppliers have been much better prepared for the second wave. So we're not seeing so much of supply disruption that we saw during the first wave. So still a lot of essentials, whether it's commodity products like oil, rice, sugar, spices, dry fruits, plus the toiletries, detergents are available with all the suppliers as well as the retailers. We saw some panic buying in the first week of April, but things have now settled down. So I think in terms of the market and in terms of retail community, people have been much better prepared than what happened last year. So things are in much better shape compared to a year ago.
But how is it that you're managing the flow of stocks right now? You know, the current state of supplies, inventory, etc. Are things smooth and comfortable there? Because the government, or rather the various state governments which are imposing curbs and curfews right now, have made it pretty clear that essential services are going to be on and there is not going to be any hampering when it comes to, food supplies at least.
To a large extent. So we also find that the lockdown this time is much less harsh compared to a year ago. Obviously, there are exceptions like in the state of Maharashtra, which is the worst affected state in terms of the pandemic. And now we are seeing restrictions come in places like UP and Karnataka, where the operating hours, even for stores selling essential products, are restricted to only 4 hours from 7 a.m. in the morning till 11 a.m. in Maharashtra and 6 a.m. in the morning till 10 a.m. in Karnataka. Now, some of these things will get implemented over this weekend, and therefore we expect to see some disturbance. But so far, I will say as far as food and grocery essentials are concerned, the supply chain has been more or less intact. And we also were aware of the second wave, and many of the retailers and many of the suppliers worked together to ensure adequate buildup of inventory at the distributor level as well as at the retailer level. So right now there is no dearth of stocks, but we do experience a lot of pain points still. For example, in cases the government has allowed sale of only essentials and non-essentials being banned, like for example in Maharashtra and Karnataka. And this is a gray area because what could be essential by someone in the government, maybe, or non-essential by the government, is essential product for a household. Let's take some examples. For example, we are now in the middle of the peak summer season in the northern markets and also in western part of the country. So a refrigerator becomes an essential, an air cooler or an AC becomes an essential. A microwave could be an essential for many modern Indian households, right? But currently, you cannot sell any of these products. Even the pots, pans, pressure cookers, you cannot sell them. So one of the requests that we have made to the government through the industry body of FICCI is that there should be standardization around what is essential and what is non-essential. And taking on board learnings from last year, I think sale of everything should be allowed. Because what is one person's essential or non-essential could be essential for the other person. So this is one of the big requests all the retailers have. Second thing is the operating hours allowed for stores are too limited. In 4 hours, you cannot just take in enough stock and cater to your customers. And that too, when the operating hours 6 a.m. to 10 a.m. or 7 a.m. to 11 a.m. So again, we are appealing to the respective state governments to make sure that stores are allowed to open for at least 10 to 12 hours. So we have enough time to receive the stock, invert it into the store, and also make it available to our customers. So these are two very serious problems that we are facing right now, and they will get more intense as we get into this weekend, because many of these restrictions are effective starting this weekend, starting tonight, in fact.
Right, absolutely. The only catch here, Arvind, is that this time around, much unlike the first wave, you are seeing reports of some cases in tier 2, 3 cities as well. much like the first wave of the pandemic last year, where tier 2, tier 3 cities were completely untouched by the virus, and you had actually them leading the recovery. Do you sense that this could go a little out of hand if those cities get a little bit impacted, which they already are, as we understand?
Absolutely right. This time, the virus, as we all know, is much more infectious. It's also affecting the younger population now much more. The fatality rate has also gone up. So yes, we are aware of what's happening. But I will say people follow the safety protocols, and at least in our company, we have about 30 safety protocols that we have implemented in the stores, both for our employees as well as customers. So if people follow the basic rules, like washing their hands, wearing a mask all the time, maintaining safe distancing, I think the prevention of the virus can be controlled to a great extent. The second thing I will say is, you asked me this question earlier, most of the retailers that I know have also implemented an omni-channel strategy. So most of the retailers have the e-commerce channel in place. They were struggling to put that together last time when the lockdown was announced in March, but most of them have now well-run e-commerce operations in place. So we are also able to do delivery. And again, I will say that delivery hours should not be restricted to only 4 per day. It should be open to at least 10 to 12. And delivery should be allowed for both essentials and non-essentials. And this is a problem not just for the tier 2 towns. I think we are also seeing a lot of infections in places like Delhi and Mumbai, even Bangalore, Hyderabad. So it's a problem affecting all tiers of towns, the metropolitan cities, as well as tier 2, tier 3. So I think the basic steps that people have to follow as citizens, we also have to make sure we follow the safety protocol. The other good thing which I'll say, which the government has done over the last few days, is allowing vaccination for everybody above the age of 18. It's a welcome step. But now the challenge is to make sure there is enough vaccine for all the people who would queue up to get their first shot starting May 1. And the government has also allowed 50% of the sale of vaccines to the private hospitals and state governments. So this should also ease up the situation a little bit. So I think that this problem, this chaos which we are seeing right now might continue for another maybe 2 or 3 weeks till second or third week of May. And after that, things should settle down. But just one thing I want to add is that the disruption in terms of sales is much less severe compared to last year. Last year, I know a lot of retailers were talking about maybe 25-30% drop in sales in the first month. This time, the impact is more in the range of 10 to 15% because of all the factors that I mentioned. They all have an e-commerce strategy and channel in place. The supply chain is much better prepared. So things are in better shape compared to last year, despite the wave 2 being more serious than wave 1.
All right. Thanks very much for giving us a heads up as to what the status looks like for the industry and how you see things shaping up. With news that the banks, auto and FMCG continue to remain under pressure, but metals and PSC are making up, we'll take a very short break. Stay with us.